Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Ann Arbor Park staff are looking for environmentally safe ways to control overgrowth at widely used parks throughout the area. Step back in time as they use an old-fashioned method of brush control.
Gallup Park has gone to the goats as they work overtime clearing invasive plant species from 2 park islands.
Goatscaping is using goats to clear areas that are overgrown with invasive species and prep the area for the owners to be able to use it in a way that they would like to have it used. They have areas that they wanted to try and get cleared. They don't want to use chemicals if they don't have to. Especially being right by the water, you don't want to have sprays and stuff like that. So it was a good match for what they needed done.
10 goats worked around the clock, clearing honeysuckle, buckthorn, and even poison ivy.
Don't have to go anywhere with them. They're comfortable in this setting here, and they'll bed down when they're ready to take a rest, and that's all they need. People are becoming more aware of the using of the chemicals and stuff, that they're trying to get away from that. And I think a lot of things are going back to the older ways of doing business, you know.
Here in Michigan, we love good eats on the grill and a warm campfire. But before you ignite those flames, there's some need-to-know safety info. Learn more in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hi, my name is Mike Kennedy. I'm the fire chief for the Ann Arbor Fire Department, here today to talk about fire safety. We have a lot of information on the city website, a2gov.org/fire, for both grilling safety along with outdoor fireplace safety. For grilling safety, we recommend keeping grills at least 10 feet away from a structure. If you have hot coals, never throw them into the trash. That can cause a fire. And for outdoor fire safety, you can't have campfires in the city of Ann Arbor. They have to be 25 feet from a structure. You are also allowed to have portable fireplaces. Those have to be 15 feet from a structure. You need to make sure that they're tended at all times and they're completely extinguished before you leave. There's some additional guidance and requirements that are available on the city website. Please go there, check it out. If you have any other questions, please let us know. We're happy to answer.
For the last 24 years, you've probably noticed big changes to downtown Ann Arbor. You may or may not know the face behind these changes, but one woman had a dream of what downtown could be, and she's been making that dream a reality ever since. Joining me is Susan Pollay, Executive Director of the Downtown Development Authority. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Hey, thank you so much.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? I mean, you have had ties to Ann Arbor for a very long time, so what led you initially to Ann Arbor?
So like so many others, I had a life someplace else. I had been working in the Bay Area, living there after school. I had the idyllic life. I took a cable car to get to my job, which was at the Cannery Building. And on my lunch hour, I sat overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. It was pretty idyllic. But I was restless as a young 20-something and knew that there was more. And I applied to the University of Michigan for graduate school. And what unexpectedly happened was I fell in love with Ann Arbor. It was blowing my mind. I think one of the first weeks I was here was art fair. I couldn't believe a town would give itself up to this crazy concept of an art fair. People are Midwest friendly. There's a beauty to the history of this place. I loved very much the historic districts and the historic buildings. There's just a lot about Ann Arbor that was compelling. So when I finished graduate school, I stayed. And I've stayed here ever since. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time.
It's funny how Ann Arbor has a way of just keeping people once you arrive.
Very much so. And so many of us are transplants. Although I have to say one of the other bewitching things, having grown up in California, where most of the people I knew, we moved around a lot. I met people that are born and raised Ann Arbor. And it's been a delight to meet the people who said, oh yeah, I knew that person back in high school. Or yeah, we grew up on the same block together. Or they know them as their family name is Susie, or Rusty. I mean, they know those nicknames that you had when you were kids. And I just find that absolutely charming.
My husband's a townie, so he drives us around town and he will tell us what everything used to be.
That's
so
fun. I love that.
You probably do that too a little bit.
Well, my parlor game is at a party. I'll say, what's the first thing you remember going away? And for me, it was Joe Star Lounge went away to make way for the One North Main building. And around the same time, we lost the Wildflower Bakery, which was at the corner of 5th and Liberty. Same architectural design. It was a house in black design. But both happened in that early 80s phase of development downtown. Those were the first things that went away for me.
Yeah. So you were a college student in Ann Arbor, and then you parlayed that into, so when you were a college student, were you like looking at the downtown and like thinking this could be better?
Please. No, please. So I came as a graduate student. It was a graduate student.
Yeah.
And I came to study communication studies. I'd been a media buyer in the Bay Area. And I knew that there was more creative stuff behind that. Through the location of the program, which was in the same building as the theater program, which was the old Freeze building, I made connections. And I got the great fortune of having a 6-month internship at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. I helped to run a children's theater lab. That brought me back with a concept of working in the arts. So for about a decade, I did work with nonprofit arts organizations, culminating with a multi-year stint at the Ann Arbor Summer Festival. I helped to program the festival. I was the director for 3 years, and before that I had done marketing and communication. Loved it. And the chance of life had a chance to go live in Malaysia for a little over a year, which was wonderful. And I came back and I knew I didn't want to work in the arts any longer. I wanted to try something new. And I was fortunate to be selected as the first executive director of the State Street Area Association. Many people may not know, but we have 4 commercial districts downtown, 4 different organizations trying to promote the businesses in their area, advocating for them. And I was fortunate to have the chance to do this with State Street. And because I didn't have the traditional background, I didn't know there were constraints to what I was going to do. This is one of the beauties of not being formally trained. So I spent time doing things like developing a shared plan for compactor use in the alleys, very tense, very tightly dense neighborhoods. We needed compactors versus dumpsters, and getting people to collaborate and share the costs for things like that. I didn't know you couldn't. I didn't know you couldn't advocate for things like graffiti and panhandling by working with the city. State Street hired City of Ann Arbor police officers for a period of time to help supplement the police coverage in the neighborhood. But what I think got me in front of people was with the directors of the other 3 associations, we began working on projects that pulled all 4 neighborhoods together. To that point, State Street had very little to do with Main Street, which had little to do with South U. And we worked on a walk map that showed all 4 neighborhoods together, advocated together, promoted together. And my argument at the time was, this is how I use it as a customer. I get my groceries over here. I get my dry cleaning over there. I will grab brunch with a friend over here, and it's all one downtown. It's not as if you
and that's how I would think of it. Like people going downtown don't think of it as like 4 sectors. Like you said, most people don't even know.
Well, and at the time, and just to give you a chance to reflect, we have 4 associations at this, 4 organizations at this point running art fair. At the time I came into this, they weren't really that coordinated. It felt like 4 distinct fairs that were separately coordinating, and it's taken this long, so it feels like one fair. That it's seamless.
It's interesting because this is the first year I haven't spoken to the art fair directors, but it really was more recently that they really got together and became one real cohesive fair as a partnership.
Absolutely. And as a longtime art fair patron, that's how I experience the fair. I buy from the artists. I enjoy the different characters, the different characteristics of the different fairs. I enjoy the different layouts. And it works well to have them all coordinated together. But that at the time was a new concept of working together. So I was very excited that we were doing that with downtown. Unfortunately, my predecessor at the DDA took ill and passed away very suddenly. So the DDA was without a director, and I was very fortunate to be selected. And I think it was because of the work I had been doing with the four associations. I joined the DDA in '96. The big problem in front of us at that point was kind of a bigger problem of downtown. The infrastructure in downtown had been severely deteriorated. Everything seemed broken. And the biggest problem for us as a DDA is we had taken over the city's parking garages and the off-street parking lots, and they were all deteriorated. We had what was estimated at an early phase as a $25 million fix, which in today's numbers doesn't seem like a lot. But as a parking system that when we took it over was losing money, wasn't making money, was losing money, and the deterioration was so widespread. Things like the old First and Washington garage, you could look up through several floors and see the sky. That was how deteriorated. We had cantilevered steel beams holding up the old Fourth and Washington garage and also holding up the Forest garage. They were unsafe in sections to actually place your car. You could come to sections of some of the garages, and if you left your car overnight, there might be concrete that had fallen on your car overnight.
Wow.
So that was the big question, was how to fix some big garages. And my project management experience, whether it was running Summer Festival or all the other work I had been doing, put me also at the table. I didn't think like an urban planner. I thought like, again, a downtown customer. So we went to the community, asked a lot of questions, and what I heard back that really made sense to me was this isn't a parking problem. This is an infrastructure problem, that in fact, you should be using this as a chance to expand the mobility choices. That's a new word today, mobility choices. So it was the first time we began to think about, we could put a lot of resources into bus passes and bike facilities and help people get here. And they don't just have to use a car. We can solve this more creatively. And that was the genesis of the Get Downtown program and the Go Pass. It was the genesis of the DDA building a downtown parking system that's for bikes. There's 1,000 bike parking spaces downtown because of the work of the DDA all this time. We also recalibrated what we were doing with a focus on walkability. That the real strength of downtown, the compact street grid, was our strength. This was at a time when everybody thought we were still competing with Briarwood Mall. And we flipped it. We flipped, again, as a customer, we flipped it saying, we're not competing. If somebody wants an inexpensive piece of jewelry or they want, where they're gonna get it at the mall, they can do that at the mall. What's special about us is our independently owned businesses. What's special about us is that you can walk and window shop happily. So how can we make it more walkable? How can we do more to celebrate what is inherently an urban setting and worry less about cars and more about the humans? And so we really doubled down on our street improvement projects with the goal of walkability, pedestrian safety, making it more fun, frankly. So you see it taking shape in things like, for a while there, the landscaping at the parking lots had topiaries, vegetables. You'd walk along and there was an eggplant in downtown. Like, what? The murals that you see downtown, we always try to get behind them because it makes it adds to what we're doing with the infrastructure to make it walkable, making it interesting and fun and unique and special at the same time. Taking a non-expert approach, I think we ended up with some very creative solutions.
All right, well, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more from Susan Pollay and the DDA. Welcome back, Susan. You were just talking about, the early days of you taking over the DDA in 1996. It's amazing to me to think that I came to Ann Arbor just like a little over a decade past your starting at the DDA, and it's a completely different downtown by that time. I can't even imagine what you're talking about, like seeing it the way you're talking about it crumbling.
So ask your husband. We've talked a little briefly about the townies. One of my projects that I'm really proud of, because we worked so closely with our community and with the university on this, was we took a look at the State Street area, and the end result was restoring two-way traffic in an area that had been a maze of one-block one-ways. It was physically impossible to go to the Michigan Theater and park your car because you had to go around the block to get to anything you needed. It was all one-block one-ways. With the community support and involvement in working to get a change in thinking, that it wasn't about cars getting through easily, it was about humans. With the university helping us studying the area, we ended up with this plan. It took a little while to get it enacted. Now, I can't imagine anyone thinking it would have been a good idea to have all those one-way streets. But if you're a townie, you remember that.
You know what's funny? I came to Ann
Yeah.
Arbor when I was a teenager to go see the Violent Femmes at Hill Auditorium, and I remember driving the wrong way down a one-way street.
Yeah. Oh, it's an awful feeling. It's just awful. Intuitively, you know you're doing wrong, but you don't know how you got there. Well, we're on the way, just to follow it forward. Right now, the DDA, in partnership with the city, we're making infrastructure improvements to First and Ashley. Expanding water mains, adding pedestrian scale lighting, a lot of permeability for the stormwater management in the Allen Creek corridor. But the big one is we're going to restore two-way traffic on First and Ashley. As it had always been, these are historically two-way streets. And we had made them one way to help car traffic get out fast. And that seems like a strange goal at this point.
Yeah. Well, so this is one of the things that you have on the horizon. Do you have anything? You're going to be in the position maybe till the end of the year, right? You're retiring towards the end of the year. So what plans do you have in place? What do you hope to finish before you're done?
So I'm excited about the two-way restoration. Another dream project actually just finished a year or so ago, which was re-bricking in the Carytown neighborhood. I love those streets. I love everything about it.
It's
and I'm
so
really
quaint
proud.
over there. Yeah.
Oh, it looks gorgeous. And again, it was a partnership with DDA and the city, and I just think the end result is even better than I could have imagined. So those are dream projects. I'm very excited to hear about projects that maybe we can support. There's a goal toward adding a lot more murals downtown. I think, again, to the sense of place, it's really important to emphasize that we can weave public art into the area and do it in a way that makes us really proud. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the DDA and the city begin to look at the State Street neighborhood. State and Northview is one of the most wonderful parts of our community. It's the town gown place of joining. And it's also a really good opportunity to both tackle the infrastructure and then to ask, how does the street work to support our goals? We've got demands for festivals up there. We have demands for beer trucks because we don't have a lot of alleys there. We have demands for sidewalk seating and cafes. We have demand, you name it, bikes. I'm excited about that project and beginning a community conversation about how to weigh all of those things and how to help redesign that neighborhood so it supports all the good stuff that's already happening there. I'm excited for the community conversation.
One of the quotes I read that you talked about was the importance of being able to maintain small businesses in downtown Ann Arbor too, because that can be tough, especially in these times during the pandemic where people are not necessarily shopping locally downtown. They're maybe not leaving their houses as often. So we've seen some businesses that have had to leave the downtown area and move to outlying areas of Ann Arbor, and we're trying to keep it in that downtown area, right?
Yeah, and there's a challenge. There's a role for government, and then there's a line at which we can't cross. We have nothing to do about the rents, and that's probably the biggest single reason businesses are unstable, and certainly the pandemic is going to push some over the edge. It's very difficult to pay the kind of rents that are being asked for downtown. It's very hard also in an era of Amazon to look at that and say, we're not going to be unaffected. Of course we're going to be affected. But what's the beautiful part about downtown is its resilience, and it's the petri dish of change. So when the malls came in, one of the things that downtown sort of sorted out was it wasn't going to compete with price with the malls, but it was going to compete with uniqueness. Then as you think about the evolution, the reason for so many restaurants is you can't buy that at the mall. You can't buy that experience. So we evolved with restaurants. I think the evolution is going to continue. I think that the pandemic is accelerating the change. One part is a lot of our restaurants were really challenged. I mean, right to the brink. And I think what they're going to discover is that their business model will likely take changes. So what's happening is, for instance, many of them are stretching and are doing food pickup and delivery. Something they may never have thought of before, including some of our very nicest restaurants. That's a really interesting evolution for businesses. Many of them are looking at their online presence, and to the point of the pandemic, may not have had an online presence. Yelp was their only presence.
Sure.
I think it's giving this pandemic, as horrible as it is giving the changes that are happening a chance to accelerate. So there's another example of bricks and mortar embracing online. If Amazon is going to do well, what can they be doing to sell running shoes? How can we sell running shoes in an era of Amazon? They're learning that that's going to potentially become part of their future. Our goal is to set the stage for success. We don't have a lot to say about what gets done and how it gets done, but trying to make sure that people have the ability to be the entrepreneurs, the successful entrepreneurs that they want to be. We try to bring as much information as possible to the downtown community, try to do everything we can, again, to foster that which is special about downtown. So walking by that store window, you may in fact discover that there's something there you really want to go in and buy that you didn't know you needed, but you're going to go in and buy. So
it could be something you've been looking for forever and you just couldn't find
Absolutely.
it. You have no idea. I mean, that definitely happened to me in the downtown walking. And I'm like, I've wanted to do this for so long, and then like ended up walking out with it, you know?
Yeah, or that impossible to shop for a person. You say that's something they would love.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Susan, before you go, what's next? What do you want to do after you retire?
So I have a few ideas. One, I love traveling. As I told you, I lived in Malaysia for a little while. I did a lot of traveling through Southeast Asia, and I'd love a chance to see more of the world. I've seen a lot of Europe. I've really not seen much in South America. I've really not seen much frankly, in Africa. I'd like to see more. There's a lot of walking trips in particular. I'm a real walker. I'm Snoopy. So when you take a walking trip, you're going to look in someone's garden. I mean, that's my idea of heaven, would be doing more of that. I'd like to take a lot of classes, and I'm looking for that volunteer thing. You know, there's a lot of really amazing organizations in our community, and I take great pride in giving back, and I'm looking for something where I can give back to the community.
I will say, though, whoever is your replacement has some big shoes to fill.
Oh, aren't you kind? Thank you. Well, I have every confidence. The DDA board are amazing. This is one of the best boards in Ann Arbor. These are volunteers, some of them owning businesses, some of them attorneys, some of them, from a variety of backgrounds. And I've got great confidence because I know their thoughtfulness and their approach is really with the goals of a great community in mind. So I know they're going to hire well. I have no doubt.
Well, all the best of luck, Susan.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate this.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time. FYI.